Hi and welcome to the TheCryptoRat channel. So today I wanted to talk to you about Bitcoin and the blockchain. So for those of you that aren't aware of the blockchain is like digital stone. So it's a database where you can add but not remove, and it's made up of a network of computers or nodes. So once something's on there, it's permanent and you can see all transactions. So it's known as a public ledger, and those transactions can't be removed. So every computer on that chain has a copy of the entire blockchain. So as I said, this is known as a ledger or public ledger, as all of the databases on there are all open to the public. So as soon as one transaction's made, all others will look at their copy on the database and verify that that transaction makes sense. And that's how you keep all of the transactions secure. So there are a couple of things that you would need to know about the blockchain. So the first thing is a word called provenance. So all provenance means is the origin of something, or the history or ownership. And that's all about being able to track something. So any transaction can be traced, and that means that there's an audit trail that's permanent and allows for real-time auditing. And that's got a number of different benefits to businesses and individuals. So by having provenance, it makes financial transactions mean accounting levels can be put together with transactions. So blockchain puts together the accounting layer and the transactional layer. For example, currently a company might make an invoice for a payment, which would be separate to the actual payment. So you're looking at different transactions from a bank account and the invoice and so on. If this is going onto the blockchain, you can actually bake this into the actual transaction. So just like a transaction in your bank account, you can add the details and have that built into the transaction. Another example would be ingredients. So if you're thinking about any food that you eat, what you're doing is trusting what's on the label for that food. So you should be able to track the ingredients using blockchain to make sure that what people are saying they put in your food when you buy them from companies is actually what's being put in your food. So up to 30% of food manufacturers don't actually have a clue what's in their food other than the information that they get from their suppliers. So there's a lot of trust and opaqueness, and it's difficult to see through or understand. And a lot of that is just relied on trust. So if you're using blockchain, you can tell where this has been. So any part of the supply chain, where it has passed through, what the state of the product was at each point, for example, of the supply chain. Clothes, another example. So you would be able to track back at each point through to distribution, see has this actually been through a factory that's used child labour, for example. And that's known as trustless, which basically means that you don't need to trust someone is telling you the truth. You can actually verify it. There's one really, really important slogan in crypto, which is don't trust, verify. So another thing is consensus. So a network of computers all need to agree on what is true and what is not true. So all computers that have a copy of this public ledger, so when any new transaction comes through, all they need to do is check whether the transaction makes sense, and they need to come to an agreement as to whether they add it to the blockchain or not. So once this is done, it's accepted, confirmed onto the ledger, and this makes it decentralized and trustless, because all decisions are being double checked and created by consensus rather than one point. So an example of that could be someone saying that they've got 100 Bitcoin, for example. Using provenance, this can't work without consensus. Looking at the transaction, actually going right back to the root and confirming this person has actually got 100 Bitcoin. Supply chain as well. If you think about supply chain for manufacturing yogurt, so this would start with cows, and there's a lot of middlemen between the cow and this actually coming into your pot that's sat on your kitchen table that you're just about to tuck into. So if you think about the different stages this goes through, you obviously got the cow, where the cow's, I suppose, being milked, so the dairy. You've got the transport and logistics to get it through to the manufacturer to be packaged. There may be ingredients that are added, such as sweetener, various other ingredients. Then it will go out to the distributor and packager, so to get all of the wraparound for the pot, and then it goes finally out to the store, and the store is where you would purchase it. So that supply chain before that is very much based on trust at the moment. So you're trusting the cow is in a good environment and say free range. The ingredients that are being added are what's on the label, and there are no cheaper ingredients going in there or non-organic, for example. So if part way through you've got someone saying that they're using high grade sugar, they might say it's high quality or high grade, but again, this is based on trust. And if you're tracking this through the supply chain, the person at the stage after that, so the distributor or packager, they're trusting that this is the ingredient that's actually gone in. Now, on that basis, you've then got the manufacturer that's telling you that. You've then got the next stage, which is the distributor or packager telling you that. And they're telling you what they believe and what they trust from the previous. So again, if you're thinking about it not being high grade and being added in, this gets lost and there's no way of verifying it. You could also go right the way back to the cow and think about the cow and the hay that they've had. So is it good quality? Is it environmentally friendly? If all of this was done through the blockchain, it'd be very, very difficult to cheat. So how would you reach a consensus on this? Well, consensus is built on incentives. So if you think about it, everyone needs to be incentivized to play by the rules or tell the truth. So if there's a strange transaction coming along, every computer on the network is incentivized to remove the trust and validate that transaction. And people gain money by being honest. And that's what's known as proof of work or proof of stake later on. So thinking about security and immutability, one example might be you trust the hospital, you trust Facebook, you trust all of these other institutions to look after your information and your data securely. So if you think about Bitcoin, Bitcoin's actually trustless. And what that means is you're not trusting that individual, you're trusting the math that goes with it. And math is something that can't be broken. So if you think, or hacked, if you think about Facebook, if you think about the data protection breach at Ledger, if you think of all of those things, becoming trustless means you've got security on a global level. And the immutability part is on the ledger. It's in a state where it can't be changed or is unable to be changed. If you think about other information, you might have a centralized point where actually they've got control over what is and what isn't changed in there and validating it. And it's very easy if it is centralized for trust to be broken. So the other thing about blockchain is the availability of it. So it's high availability, which is 24/7, 365 days as an infrastructure. And if you think about Bitcoin, it's the longest living application that has never been down at any time. And that's partly because everyone's incentivized to keep it alive. And it's all about making money. So if you think about the incentives, that's what makes people spend the time, the bandwidth, the data, validating these transactions. The other thing is, because this isn't centralized, if there was an issue where a chunk of computers go offline, and there were recent reports of that in the news with the East Coast of America going offline, India, the internet going down, these are soon replaced by others. And that's because of mining. And mining is how the network's protected and how people are making the money. If people stop mining, the mining becomes easier, and that incentivizes more people to start mining. When lots of people are mining, the difficulty increases. So it's trying to keep an equilibrium. And the last thing really is finality. And that means that once a transaction has happened, it's happened. So there's no way you can get it back. So this also removes a lot of trust. So once you send me money, that's gone. So it will stop things in business like fraud or chargebacks or things that customers could do to a business. So, for example, making a payment and then saying they haven't received the goods. That can't happen on the blockchain. Once that payment's gone, it's gone. And again, that means there's no trust. And the protocol and the system is where the trust is, because that can be mathematically verified and can't be reversed. So it makes it better for strangers to do transactions with each other or do business with each other. So I hope that was useful. And that is just a very, very high level overview of blockchain and Bitcoin.